Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us to our monthly webinar. We got a fantastic group of Ram Brown alumni to celebrate the 25th year and for us to talk about what it's like to be a Ram Brown scholar, and as well as allow everybody else to ask questions and learn more about this fantastic community. Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Alamayo. I'm a 2004 Ram Brown Scholar and a Board of Trustee. I'm here with my fellow Board of Trustee and partner in the webinars, Meredith Eggers. Meredith.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you if I haven't, and I'm glad everybody's here today, and we're thrilled to have this panel and our audience.
Wonderful. For everybody that is new to the program, the Ram Brown Scholar Program is dedicated to nurturing the next generation of African-American leaders. The scholarship honors the legacy of the late Secretary Ronald H. Brown through a selective scholarship program that advances higher education for community-minded and intellectually gifted African-Americans. The program supports students entering college through the Guided Pathway Support Program while they are in high school, during the college years through the scholarship and mentoring, and after graduation through the mentoring and networking program. Today we have a fantastic panel, and our discussion is going to revolve around being a Ram Brown scholar and a professional, and the message that we want to communicate to Ram Brown scholars, as well as the general community of friends of Ram Brown. Today we have Matt Espy, a Ram Brown scholar in 1999, senior financial analyst at Sempra Energy. Melanie Forbes Goins, Ram Brown scholar in 1998, general counsel and corporate secretary at care.com. Hyunpei Jones, class of 1998, founder of the law office of Hyunpei Jones. Tomika Suber, MD, PhD, Ram Brown scholar, class of 1998. Assistant Professor of Medicine, Preliminary and Critical Care at University of Pittsburgh. And Aaliyah Williams, Ram Brown Scholar, class of 1998, founder, producer, Just a Rebel Inc., and Chief Content Officer at the Digital Studio.
I'm no longer at Macro.
Okay, all right. We got the old one. So I'm gonna start with you, Aaliyah. So first, can you tell us a bit more where you are now in your life and your career, and how your relationship with Ram Brown has evolved over the years?
Yeah, so right now specifically I'm in LA, in Studio City, and I am an entrepreneur. I produce film and television, and largely took this risk because of the Ram Brown Scholar Program. We had a conference in the Berkshires in 2005 that was the first one that was specifically focused on film and TV and the arts. And that's where I met Charles King, who is the founder of Macro, what I previously worked at, had conversations with a lot of writers and directors that made me reread my essays to business school and decide not to go, and really pissed off my parents, and started in the mailroom at an agency and worked my way up, but they're okay with the narrative now.
Awesome, thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm gonna ask the same question for everybody, and I just kind of revolve around. Tomika, can you answer the same, please?
Sure. So, right now, as you said, I'm a physician scientist. So I'm in the Division of Pulmonary Allergy and Critical Care Medicine at Pitt. And so I do research 75% of the time, and I do clinical medicine, usually intensive care unit work 25% of the time. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, when I just joined the program, there was a summer between like freshman and sophomore year of college when I was at UNC Chapel Hill. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to spend the summer going to summer school. And Mr. Mallory was like, you're not, you're going to do something else. And I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I like science, but I don't know what I want to do. He was like, well, figure it out, but you're going to do something other than summer school. And so in the early years of the internet, I don't know what I was using. Maybe I was using, the first version of Google at that time, but this was 1998, 99. So I found some summer research programs that were targeted to underrepresented minority students to sort of build the pipeline of people doing what I'm doing right now. And I did a program at Duke University, and then that was basically the catalyst for me to do additional summer programs, do research in undergrad, get published, and then ultimately I decided to do the combined MD PhD program at Johns Hopkins. And so that's where I did my medical school and as well as graduate school training with an emphasis on immunology at the time. And then, went on to do my medical training, specifically in critical care medicine. So basically, Mr. Mallory is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because he said, you're not going to summer school. You're going to do something that's more focused on what you are interested in doing long term. And then I ended up staying pretty much in the same track. I really respect people who've changed directions multiple times. I'm very risk averse. So I'm at a stage in my life now where I'm trying to figure out how much more risk averse do I want to be. You ponder a lot of things when you're on quarantine. So I'm trying to sort of figure out like what directions I want to navigate and for my career long term. But the program has been so supportive. Obviously, like the 98 class is representing and Matt. But as far as we have a pretty close knit group, and I know Aaliyah very well, and like so proud of her too, and everyone. But I really respect people who change directions, and I would encourage people to consider that as they go throughout their career and their training, and not necessarily stick to one track. For me, it's kind of worked out, but I'm also open to other opportunities too.
Wonderful. And I think a lot of us would definitely blame Mr. Mallory for a lot of the direction, nudge, and support. Tempe? You're muted.
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Just tell us how your life has been since being a Ram Brown scholar, okay, and how your relationship with Ram Brown has evolved over the years.
Okay. I got mesmerized listening to Aaliyah and Tamika and stuff. And some of you guys I haven't seen in years, so I'm excited to see everyone's faces. I have had the law office for, I opened it, I think in 2009. So I've been on the same track for a while too. Most of what Ron Brown has been for me has been a resource for me to go back to I kind of already knew what I wanted. Not that I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, but I knew that I wanted to have an impact on the world. I knew that I wanted to, do some form of public speaking, et cetera. So I was kind of naturally attracted to law in that way. But I have gone back to the program over these last years several times in order to help me kind of just define a little more closely what it is I'm trying to do, and also to give me resources so that I could know who to reach out to and how to get started. I come from a family where I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I was actually the first person to graduate from high school with no kids. So I did not come with the Rolodex, the resources that many of my peers did. And so even when I was in all the way up through law school, even actually now as an attorney, there have been many times where I feel like I'm trying to fit it together, but I don't quite know. I think there was another Ron Brown scholar who wrote an essay about, and I think she entitled it something about the rules being written in lemon juice. That when we used to do that science experiment where you hold it up to the light and you can see it, but it's not visible when you just look at it in the dark. And that's how it's been for me a lot of my life, trying to figure out how to get exactly where I want to go. And so like right now, I'm in Carla's group for investment, and I have a webinar with Dr. Kaya tomorrow for this whole cannabis thing. And I am constantly looking to the other scholars for resources and for inspiration and just to help me define my path a little bit more. So that's really what it's been for me.
Oh, fantastic. That's a beautiful story. Melanie?
Hi, everybody. So I am in the Boston area. I'm also an attorney. I'm in-house general counsel at care.com, which is a online marketplace for family care. So childcare, senior care, pets, everything, that you love in the home. I think that my relationship with the scholars program has evolved over time, just as we've grown over time and gotten more gray hairs, and kind of evolved from that role of the kind of star-eyed, freshman or, high school senior getting ready to go off to college to, and feeling really grateful to be able to go to school already knowing a handful of people even before we came, because we saw each other, beforehand, to, those first kind of, postgraduate years. I worked for a little while and then went back to law school. And then, as my career grew, I've been in Boston almost the whole time. So a couple of years I lived in the Bay Area, but then came back for law school and then stayed here. And so it's been fun and a little like perspective shifting to continue to stay involved with the Ron Brown Scholars in the Boston area. It's a deep crowd. And so being able to go back to Harvard campus and meet, some of the younger folks, has been fun to keep that community going. It has been odd to like realize that now I'm that, that old lady who shows up for things, when you're on a college campus, and you always wonder like, who are these people who kind of keep coming back? Now that's me. But I appreciate that the Scholars Program has given me a community to stay connected to. And, I think like Tiambe, like I didn't, go to college knowing that I wanted to be a lawyer, but, pretty quickly knew that that was what I wanted to pursue. But having the inspiration of Secretary Brown and of our community, and, this motto of leaving the ladder down so that others can follow, really has been, a lot of my ethos, like in my career, right? So, being an attorney is a helpful profession to be able to help people, but I think I've been very intentional about trying to, make sure that I am, a place where people can be, can get resource, a place where, I can mentor people, create communities around me. And I think that a lot of that is a legacy of, what we were just steeped in from a very early age.
No, absolutely. And, for me, when I was applying in, I remember kind of seeing all of your bios on the website and trying to emulate you, and kind of looking back and looking at all the scholars that we have now. It is amazing how it has grown. I think it's not even possible to go through the website and look at the bios anymore. Matt, your turn. Tell us your life and career since being a scholar and how it has changed over the years, your relationship with Ron Brown.
Sure. I'd say, one thing Ron Brown's done for me is if I hadn't joined the program, the last party I went to pre-COVID was a fish fry at Aaliyah's house. And I might not have known Aaliyah without Ron Brown, and it was a good party. So, as distraught as I've been the past year, if I had not had that to think about, it would have been worse, going through COVID. So, but no, really to echo what Melanie was saying, getting to campus and already having somewhat of a network. We did Aspen the summer before I went off to school. So I'd met everybody on here before, and now I'm from Atlanta. 8 students from Georgia go to Harvard every year, right? Whereas at Milton Academy, they send 25 kids to Harvard every year. So these kids are going in not just knowing all their classmates, but their parents there. They have a big network already. And it's just, it's such an advantage. And Ron Brown has sort of served as that for us. Within the past couple of weeks, I was talking to Sam before we started about a business idea I've been thinking about. And I was speaking to Mike Billings, also class of 98, about, potential investors and getting some, some feedback from him. So it's just been, you know, a big network that I want to say it almost works in the background. You're not always thinking about it, but you're getting some of the access that a lot of our peers have just because of, you know, how they happen to be born. So it's just it's a great both social and, you know, business network, and you know, anything else you want to do. So you can call on Mr. Mallory of the program whenever you want, but you can also call on other scholars. And you know, sometimes they call on you and say, "Hey, come up. We got some fish in the fryer. It's gonna be good."
No, I love that. By the way, for the audience, please kind of add your questions and we'll incorporate them. And if you want to join us at the latter end of kind of the panel, we'll definitely have you on stage with everybody, the virtual stage.
Exactly.
So kind of piggybacking to what you guys are all have been saying, you know, you're part of the first 3 class, and there were not a whole lot of alumni when you were joining in. I guess maybe there were none. Everybody was a scholar initially. And, you know, as a network effect, the network has grown from you guys all the way outwards, and it has continued to evolve. Kind of the question is, since entering the professional world, what hurdles has being a Ram Brown scholar helped you overcome? And what type of advice would you give to other scholars to leverage this growing alumni network? And anybody could take that question. Yeah. And I want to hear from everyone. Go for it, Dalia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was responding to Terrence Carter in the chat.
We're all jealous of the fish fry. That's basically
Yeah, exactly.
about, right?
Sorry, y'all. I will send out a fish fry blast the moment it is safe enough for everybody to have some fish. So I very much so apologize. I'm sorry, Sam. What was the question? It was something about the alumni network.
I'll answer. So you know, the question of, you know, how does professionally, you know, how has being a scholar been impactful? And, you know, obviously there's a bunch of, you know, conferences that Ron Brown's hosted, and it just gives you exposure to, you know, different careers that you may not have exposure to where you grew up, and people in those careers. And, you know, I remember we went to like the Patton Boggs office, and then, you know, would never have heard of Patton Boggs otherwise, and now read them. Oh yeah, we went there, and no, so you just get a lot of exposure to different activities. So even if it isn't a direct job, it's, you know, okay, I've seen this person do this, I had this connection here, and again, it just sort of broadens your horizons of what opportunities there are for you. And then of course, you know, they're always sending out, you know, potential jobs, and there's other scholars that might be working in the field that you're in. So like I said, it just goes back to the network of, it doesn't even have to be a direct, because of Ron Brown, I got this job, but maybe I met this person or whatever else. And I was talking to a buddy recently, and, you know, I've probably had like 5 or 6, you know, places I've worked, and maybe 1 or 2 of them I didn't know somebody there, right? And so, you know, the idea of like, I'm trying to think if I've ever, like, you know, gone to a website and applied and gotten a job other than, you know, first one out of school. But for the most part, there's some sort of connection. If somebody says, hey, there's this opportunity here, or hey, you may want to think about this, or, you know, it comes across your desk somehow. And again, just having this network of people in different and varied professions that have had success that know you, those opportunities are going to be available to you. So I'd say that's the biggest thing, is that, again, it's a way to sort of grow the network that, you know, you should have through your hard work, but, you know, you wouldn't have, because obviously it's been such a boost, knowing everybody in the program. So, you know, it's just another way of being able to highlight and expand the number of people that know what you've been working on, and therefore, you know, things that you might have access to.
Yeah. And I'd also say it's, you know, even for folks that are not necessarily Ron Brown scholars or Ron Brown alumni, if I've met people who have a certain interest, and I know that, you know, Matt is an investment genius, or I know that Tamika is, you know, doing her thing in allergy medicine. I've definitely made those connections, and it's been awesome to be able to make those connections for folks who don't have this close-knit network, and vice versa. And then, you know, for me being, I'm from Arkansas and Oklahoma. I went to high school in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I had never been in a room with that many advanced Black students before our selection weekend. And to carry that forward through all of our events, through college, outside of college, and it's just been an added just boost to my life to be able to continue to talk to current students and current scholars, and to try to keep up with, my amazing peers who are now the OGs, old alums.
I'll piggyback off of that. I grew up in suburban Virginia, and so we were in one of those neighborhoods where we were the Black family, or maybe there was like another Black family, and went to a magnet school where there it was actually more diverse than my local school would have been, but still I lived that experience, and I'm sure a lot of folks on this webinar did too. And coming to selection weekend, first of all, I flew from Richmond to DC, which is silly in retrospect, but it was like a moment I did not forget, because I did not get on planes. But to be in a room of high achieving Black students like me was remarkable. And I'm like super introvert, so like being in a room of 20 Black students who are excited and ready to like go take on the world was like, that was big for me. And I really think that and then a couple of experiences in college, like joining Kumba at Harvard, was an entry into my like growth into the Black community, honestly. And I think that without those two sort of keystone moments in my kind of end of high school, early college, I don't know what my peer group would look like, or what my friend group would look like, or how important it would be for me to like bring that part of me like out into the world more. And so everything people are saying about like connections and like long-term relationships is very true. But for me, it like really was a kind of fundamental moment in me kind of identifying who I am and who my community is.
I'll jump in here. Okay. I was going to say, one of the things that being part of this program and part of this network has given me is just the confidence to excel. And I remember the first triennial conference that we had. At that point, there were no scholars who had, I mean, we were all in school and up and coming. But all the speakers and everyone were people who were well established. And it was the first time that I realized how important it was to them to invest in us, how much they gained from our success. It gave me a very different perspective about the world, and how hospitable it was to my success as a Black woman. Now, that's not to say it's all been a bowl of cherries. There have been hurdles, and there have been things that I've had to overcome. But one of the takeaways that I've had from that is that I don't expect. It's not that I don't expect those hurdles, but I expect people to want me to succeed. And I didn't know that before the Ron Brown Scholar Program. I didn't know that before I sat across from these Black people who were excellent in their jobs, but who looked at me and said, what can I do to help you? And it wasn't just Blacks, because we had other people there. And there were so many people who wanted me to succeed. And so I have taken from that, as I've gone through life, just this understanding that there's a whole lot of people in this world rooting for me. There's a whole lot of people here who want my success and who are personally invested in seeing me overcome. Right now, I am, I think I was maybe one of the first of the scholars to reproduce. So I have, my two boys are 20 and 17 now. And my focus in the last couple of years has turned to how to help them gain the benefit of my networks. And I've been very explicit about it. So those of you who were at the last triennial met my 20-year-old, whatever, because now that I know with confidence that other people want my success, then I am constantly looking out for them and saying, hey, guess what? People want you guys to be successful too. You just need to find them. You need to find the people who are invested in having you succeed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love what you just said. It's awesome. And I echo everyone's sentiments. I think for me, looking back, so I actually feel a little bad for some of the newer scholars because obviously COVID has thrown a wrench in the social interactions. But because I could certainly say that the experiences I had, particularly with the 97, 98, 99, actually up to like 2000, that cohort, 4-year cohort of scholars, because we had multiple Aspen conferences, right? There were 2. And then in between, we would find ways to connect no matter what college we went to. You know, Leah and I hung out a lot, had some fun trips. So, you know, those experiences were formative for me, just knowing that I had this network of people of different backgrounds, different experiences, different interests who were all passionate about succeeding, but just were also really good people. And would be lifelong connections and friends. And, you know, even if you don't talk to somebody every single day, like Danielle Newell is a 2000 scholar, I think, and like, I still talk to her periodically. We still connect. You know, Morgan Dooley was, you know, at Hopkins with me. She was 2 years behind me, I think. But like, you just always have these connections with people in different phases of your life, depending on where you are. And I think that's always been a comfort for me. And it's been really important for me to thrive as I've gone through some of my own challenges. So I echo what everyone else said as well.
Yeah. And even like the, you know, just different aspects of, as the program has evolved, the different programs that have been a subset of it, with like the mentorship program has been awesome for alumni mentoring current scholars. And I remember I got matched up with Sarah Labrie, who I think she's 06. I don't know if that's 06 her college year or her Ron Brown year, but she, you know, is just a beautiful woman and fantastic and amazing, and is like evolved as a writer, and then you know, and is also out here in LA, and we've always had like these touch points. And when she was embarking upon getting into TV writing, I was so excited to read her pilots and champion her when she got staffed on a show on Showtime, and then going to her wedding, and then going to so many weddings of scholars. It's just this added level of family that has just been remarkably rewarding.
Did you all expect that when you, and I mean, you're the first class, there was nothing in front of you to tell you what the organization was going to be like. It was a scholarship. So how quickly did it become clear that this was something bigger, or did it?
I think honestly, selection weekend was probably when we realized
Sure,
it was
yeah.
something bigger. Because so I was a 98 group, so there was one class ahead of us, obviously. But I remember the way that they even, you know, told us that we all got it during the selection weekend, because you know, initially it's a little competitive, and you're like, you know, you're just trying to fill things out. And then we all went through the interviews, and then we all got it, and just like the tears and the hugging and the bonding. And I feel like by the end of that weekend, I knew that this group of people was going to be an extended family for me, or part of my extended family. So for me, it was selection weekend. I think the common thread of family has carried throughout the program over the years.
What Tamika just said, there was actually a specific moment in selection weekend, because I remember even on the plane ride getting there, like we all thought we were competing with one another. And so I literally, you know, I had gone away for high school. And so the girls at the house where I lived, you know, were like pumping me up like a boxer. It was like, you know, you're going to go in there. You know, it doesn't matter who you've got to step on, but you got to get this money, because this is you know, this is college for you, baby. You got to get this done. And so we came, you know, I came in with that mindset. Okay, this is my competition and stuff. But it was that instance when we were all gathered in one of the rooms or something, and we got told that all of us had gotten the scholarship. And I just remember the hugging and the praise and we were all crying, and it was like all of a sudden we were now free to be friends. And so we spent the rest of that weekend enjoying one another and forming those relationships. But yeah, that was the moment.
Yeah, no, that was in we were in Mr. Mallory's like penthouse palatial suite. And I still have this photo that I love so much. I don't know if somebody took a photo. It was me. I think Melanie, I think you might be in this photo too. It was like me, Melanie, Malika,
Oh,
and
send it.
and we were in like sitting on this bench like in one of these like really elaborate elevators, and we're just smiling, we're holding each other and we're smiling like our lives depend on it, and like tears running down our eyes. But I feel like even just the process of all of us being roommates, having different roommates and stuff, even before we knew we got it, I was just like, I just like these people. Like everybody's just like super cool.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, fortunately, my year was the first year where that summer we went to Aspen, right? So I was 99, and there was a 97 and 98 class as well. So again, I met Aaliyah there, met Terrence there, met all the rest of you. But now when I got to campus in the fall, I didn't just know, you know, it's probably like 6 people from my class at Harvard, but I also knew another, you know, some upperclassmen. And I was talking to a classmate, you know, a couple of days ago, and she was asking how, you know, how I felt when I got to campus. And I said I already knew a lot of people. Like it wasn't as strange because I already knew a lot of people, in part because we had done that trip to Aspen, you know, in part because of selection weekend. And then you know, program's been really good about setting up dinners, you know, throughout the years in different cities. So again, you never like felt alone or out of place. You know, even if you barely kind of knew somebody, you still knew people and had done something with them, had some experience with them. And that, you know, that's continued through, you know, Aspen again and Berkshires and, you know, other places and just other opportunities to network. So wherever you are, you never feel like, okay, I'm alone, you know, or I don't know what to do here. You always, you know somebody you can talk to and ask about this. And it's, you know, it's just a huge help. And you don't even think about how much of a help it is because it's all you sort of know. But then, you know, I was talking to a classmate again, you know, just a couple days ago, and, you know, she was still talking about it, you know, 15, 20 years later of, you know, what it felt like not having that. So, but yeah, I was, you know, super psyched and, you know, only time I've been to Aspen. You know, you get to go to like a nice resort. We didn't grow up going to nice resorts, so you get to go to this nice resort, a bunch of young Black people, and have a good weekend. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So the name Mike Mallory keeps coming up. And I think for me, and only having been involved with the organization for the last 4 or 5 years, one of the things that I find really important about the organization is the continuity of Mr. Michael Mallory. And the fact that he's been here from the beginning is to me a really special thing. And obviously each of you have known him that whole time. I'd love to hear a little bit about what Mike Mallory means to you in terms of the shape that the Ron Brown Scholarship Program took, or if he wouldn't have been there, how different it might have been.
It wouldn't be that family aspect that we've been talking about. I mean, Mr. Mallory is the father of the Ron Brown Scholar Program. I literally, there was definitely a point in time where I feel like I probably talked to him as much as every day, as much as I talked to my dad. And God bless Mr. Mallory for being that patient to take that many phone calls, and to know now that, like, you know, he was taking that many phone calls from everybody. And, you know, I think at every major stage of my life, it has not, I've not walked through that stage without a very long, extensive, meaningful conversation with Mr. Mallory. And you know, him and Vanessa as well, like, are just, they are family members, period.
Yes,
I
I think
concur.
that's right. I think that's right. And you know, I think that one of the things, like, over time, because we were, you know, we were sort of inventing what would happen to the next, you know, as the program, as our group got older, like, what would that connection look like when we weren't just on campus, but we were, you know, out living our adult lives. And I think that it was through his, you know, sort of his relationship and connectivity that really helped that persist. I think it's very easy. You know, you were asking earlier about, you know, how did we know that this was different from like a typical scholarship program? Most other, you know, other scholarship dollars that we got, they were checks. You know, they weren't relationships, right? They weren't people. And I think that he set the expectation that this was about creating a family. And so that was pretty easy when we were all on campus. And then when we all started going off and doing grown-up things, you know, I think that he was very intentional about keeping people together, starting mentorship programs, inviting the OGs back, you know, when, you know, a speaker would come to a campus, just to make sure that we still had the, you know, had the opportunity to stay part of it. And so I mean, it really like set the bar and sort of defined, you know, one of the, you know, a handful of pillars that I think I have in my life when I talk about like who I am and sort of what communities I'm in, that I definitely, I have not experienced in other, you know, you know, other scholarship programs, or like even some of the like school programs that we were in, you know, they kind of like fizzle over time. And as somebody who has let life, you know, kind of fill up all the space, you know, so when you have the career and the kids and the, you know, spouse and everything, like I am probably one of the least connected people, and I will let things sit in my inbox for a long time. But if Mr. Mallory sends me, you know, a Facebook Messenger message, which I don't even ever check, like I will write back, because, you know, because he gave so much to us. So, you know, how could I not, you know, answer when he calls?
I think it's amazing that he's known us now like half our lives. And particularly because he knew us, like he knew us on the cusp of what we might become. And I'm just always floored by that. Also, though, the thing Aaliyah just said, I never realized that he's having these conversations with everybody else, because I think that my relationship with Mr. Mallory is, you know, different. It's its own thing. And then I talk to you guys, and you guys are also talking to him. So I think it's amazing that he's able to be that to so many of us. I don't know how he creates those extra hours in a day.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd add to that is that, you know, he's been focused on not just making us great, you know, academics, or making us great professionals so that we can, you know, give back to the endowment that is the RBS. He's been focused on us as people. So, you know, I've had so many conversations with him that have nothing to do with my career. Or at the time when I was in school, nothing to do with academics, just life skills, you know, how to grow and be a healthy, emotionally healthy adult, how to deal with family situations or your own mental health situations that, you know, no one's really talked to you about, or you don't really understand. And he somehow has an understanding of everything. I don't think there's anything that Mr. Mello doesn't have a good thought about, which is just incredible.
Only thing I'll add is that, you know, even if you don't call Michael Mallory, he's going to call you. You know, just to check on how you're doing, or maybe to tell you to stop throwing parties in your hotel room. But, you know, generally just to check on how you're doing. And you know, he's made the effort to make sure that you're not, you know, you don't feel forgotten. And, you know, we're kidding around. We're also pretty social, but so I don't have that issue, but I know everybody's not as social as I am. And it is easy to, like, you know, sort of go into your own sort of world and then sort of not know that there are people out there sort of invested in your success, your health, your happiness. And you know, you're always getting that call from Mr. Mallory, just checking on you, just making sure. And you know, that's, you know, we have the same person year after year after year after year that, you know, like everybody else said, you get a scholarship, most places you get a check and then you're done and your sort of relationship is over. But that's not the way the program is run. And so, you know, that's why of all the scholarships I've gotten, you know, this is the one that, you know, most meaningful relationships with other students, you know, scholars, and as well as still, you know, donate more to this one and keep in touch with people more, because he's made that effort because he actually cares. It's not just, you know, we get some metrics and you know, but it's like, how do we actually, you know, build a community? So you know, super grateful for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, for me personally as well, I could echo what everybody has been saying, but also kind of that feeling that I felt like I could call Mr. Mallory at any time and he's there. And the fact he has been able to do that for every scholar, and now our number, we're over 400 now. We got to start cloning him and adapting it. And it's just, you know, the one thing that has been great is, you know, within this scholarship family, you could call on almost anybody and they're there to be a mentor. They're there to support you. And for you guys being in kind of in your mid-career professionals, you've been mentored, you've mentored others. How does that kind of mentor and mentee relationship has evolved for you? And because, you know, we've always been saying, and it's a symbiotic relationship. You get as much from your mentee as you give to your mentor. For kind of the new scholars that are coming in, class of 2020 and 2021, it's going to be 40 or 45 of them now. What do you hope to get from them if you're going to be their mentors, and how do you kind of expect them to be great mentees when they approach their mentors?
I'll chime in. I think it is important to be a good mentee, as far as being clear about what you need. Because sometimes, I mean, I don't get a lot of emails from scholars actually, but if I do, I'll certainly respond. But sometimes people will reach out and say, like, just wanted to touch base. I just have questions about things. And I'm always like, okay, what is your specific question? What's your need so that I can best help you? So I think as a mentee, how to get the most out of your mentor and out of the program is to identify clearly what your needs are and be able to articulate that. And then the more that the mentor knows, the more they can give you, the more they can support you. And just try not to be siloed. So I know sometimes, like, I'm also an introvert, like Melanie was saying. And when I was a bit siloed, because, you know, there aren't a lot of scholars doing exactly what I'm doing now. A lot of scholars are basic science researchers in a lab, you know, doing what I'm doing. And then, you know, I'm in the ICU if I'm not in the lab. And clearly in the past year has been insane, you know, regarding COVID. So when I feel siloed, I always found that Mr. Mallory would reach out and be like, hey, just want to make sure you're alive. Wanted to make sure you're okay. And so a good mentor will do that. They will know, like, okay, I'm worried that they're falling off. Let me reach out to them too. So I think it is a mutual relationship. It shouldn't be one-sided. I think obviously the mentor is giving a lot, but the mentee has to put into the relationship as well, so that there's a mutually beneficial interaction, and that you get the most out of it.
Yeah, I say also just have a little patience, because, you know, I think I'm a much better place in my career and life now to be mentoring anyone. And, you know, I think back to some mentees that may have not gotten a lot of FaceTime or time period, just because we were, you know, it was that stage in our life where we're just trying to make it happen. So don't be shy. Follow up. Like, email is cool, but if you have my number, just call. because I think that is what has been the difference in Mr. Mallory's relationship with all of us. And if you're a Ron Brown scholar, you have, in my opinion, you have carte blanche to pick up the phone and call me.
Don't call me. Sorry. Don't call me. Email, text, don't call me. Okay. It's not that I'm not willing to give mentorship or whatever. I'm always available. But I don't necessarily like being put on the spot. I do want to know ahead of time what it is that you need and how I can be a resource to you. And I want the opportunity to prepare appropriately and to think about it so that the advice and the information that I give to you is not just, kind of off the cuff, or, that you really are getting the most excellent that I can give. So don't call me, but I'm always open to text, or any sort of written communication is always great.
Let me correct that request. Only call me, write everybody else.
Now, I'll say,
Not
so
even with you until you said call me. My line is always open. I was like, no.
listen, I'm involved in a mentor program here in San Diego called Reality Changers, and there's once a month, there's something set up, and there's always an agenda of what you're going to work on. And even so, I guess with Ron Brown, if it's not a formal agenda, just one thing that's good is to know ahead of time what you want to talk about, so you can do some research and prep. Okay, I might know somebody there. Let me reach out to them, or just sort of setting it up in advance. What it is that you want to work on. That's always helpful. So we can do some sort of prep work and be most of use. Versus talking about it and then having to follow up when you're busy with a bunch of other stuff. So that would be the one thing I say as a mentee, to sort of, hey, do you have time to talk? And here's what I want to talk about. And then we can set a time and prepare for it. So I'd say that. Also, I would say, way to be a good mentee is let us know about your successes. I've been working with this student for about a year now, and you can tell me I met with him Monday, but last month is when he told me he got into Stanford. I was very proud of that, but he got in early action, right? So I'm like, why are you waiting so long to share this news? So make sure you're letting us know, not just, okay, I need help with something, I need mentorship, but also here's this pretty cool thing that happened, because it makes it that much more worthwhile to say, okay, I'm helping somebody along that path, or even something that you might be thinking about. That before, instead of hey, I applied and got into this, he applied to the MITES program last summer at MIT. So, well, my sister's best friend from MIT runs the program. Right, and they ended up not doing it because of COVID. But letting us know ahead of time of it's not just here's this thing I did, but here's things I'm thinking about. We can be resources. So I'd say that.
Wonderful, and we have someone from the audience that is joining us. The one and only Terry Dean, a longtime friend of the Ron Brown Scholar and a longtime Board of Trustee. Terry.
Hello. I couldn't help but put a message in the chat. I'm no longer on the board, but Ron Brown Scholar Program lives in my heart at all times, as it has for several years. And my comment in the chat was, I've always thought it was wonderful how all the scholars from the first to the most recent call Michael Mallory Mr. Mallory. And, typically that's, a way of referring to someone that you don't know that well, but certainly in Mr. Mallory's case, it's a term of affection, a term of endearment, and great respect and love. And I just wanted to say that in the 25 years that this program has been in existence, were it not for Mr. Mallory and also Vanessa, we certainly wouldn't be where we are today. So I just wanted to acknowledge the value of that just unbridled love that we all have for him and that he obviously has for us. And so though I was late joining the conversation today, I couldn't let the hour go by without dialing in. I don't know how I became a panelist, but because I thought I was an attendee.
Oh, I added you. Who sent you back into an attendee? But you're in.
Yeah, just put me on the spot. Who said they'd rather get a phone call or a text message? Just put me on the spot. But no, I'm happy to be here, and I just love all of you all from the bottom of my heart. So keep it up.
Wonderful.
Thank
You know, I
you.
was thinking about this just as we were all talking. There are so few things that you participate in as a youth that you don't sort of visualize, wow, someday maybe my kid will do this thing. And this is truly one of those organizations that, because of the trajectory on which you depart and then continue in life, your own children won't have access to the organization. They have it through you, they have it through your relationships. But that just struck me very strongly. And I wonder if anybody has a comment about it.
Yeah, I guess, if we're doing our jobs right, we won't, our kids won't be applying to this for the financial aid, although price of tuition, I don't know, we'll see. But I do think, for the few Ron Brown scholars that do have children, I definitely hope that whenever I have children, we endeavor to create some type of network for them, because I think it's, what we were gifted and blessed with at the age of, 18 is just incredible. And I'd hate for our children to not benefit from what we've built here.
Just to clarify, so no, my sons have not applied as scholars, but I have made a concerted effort to keep them connected to this group. And that's important to me, but it's actually also become important to them. There are Ron Brown scholars with whom they have relationships that I don't even know about. Some of them I've never even met, and so that's pretty amazing to me. But I hadn't thought about the fact that I guess that would be true of most of the scholars, that we won't have children that are benefiting necessarily financially from this program, but there are other ways to benefit.
Yeah, agreed.
And there's a suggestion on the chat as well of how kind of children could join into GPS or captain program. That would be great. I think finding ways to make sure that we grow this network and this community, and also kind of engage, especially for those of us that have kids, kind of being parents as well, being able to connect and continuously engage, because now the organization has evolved into having a majority alumni organization. So a lot of the needs and the way it approaches that is starting to evolve as well. It's almost 3 organizations in one now.
My oldest son is in GPS, I believe, and more importantly, he has gotten many of the ideals of the Ron Brown Scholar Program, and he's gotten them transmitted through me. But also, look, even when they were infants, I remember I have an old picture of I think it was Carmel, and there was somebody else in that picture, holding one of my sons when he was trying to escape from her arms. You guys have been there at every portion of their lives. We've had dinners and little meet and greets all the time. And so my sons have been an integral part of this program, and this program has been an integral part of their life since they were born. Carla Aguero, same thing. Like, she had her babies at the last triennial, and we've all been a part of their lives. And so it's kind of like having a whole network of aunties and uncles who are all looking out for you. But I do want to say that they carry the same the same missions that this program has, they carry because they're getting that in their interpersonal relationships with you guys. So I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it was Melanie who said earlier about this scholarship being different because it wasn't just the check, it was a relationship. It's those relationships that really have made the difference for all of us, and that are making the difference, I think, for our children as well.
Now, and in that spirit, kind of getting 30 seconds from everybody, what do you hope for the future of the program, and what should the next 25 years look like?
I mean, I think I would just hope that the program continues to pull people who are mission driven and purpose driven. And I think that's something that makes this program unique compared to, you know, other scholarships that many of us have had, and just the types of people we're surrounded by, regardless of what area people are specializing in or what their gifts are. Everyone seems to be purpose and mission driven. And I love that about this program. And I love that about the people I'm surrounded by. And I hope that that continues for the future of the program, and that people continue to support and uplift each other. Because, you know, it's rough out here. You know, 2020 was not an awesome year for most folks. And I think it's going to be even more important moving forward, you know, as society continues to have its tensions and stressors, that we support one another and love on one another, because we may not get that as much outside of this group. So I just think that's important moving forward.
Yeah, I would say I hope the future of the program is that, you know, all of us and everybody that comes through, you know, carries ourselves, you know, outside of Ron Brown, you know, the program, you know, the same way sort of, you know, the program operates within itself, which is to say that we're out mentoring, that we're out creating opportunities, that we're out, you know, that's the way it becomes exponential. There may be only money for, you know, a certain number of scholarships every year, and that's a linear growth from the alumni, but becomes exponential when that attitude goes through us, and then we're able to impact the way other people live, and that's sort of how we move it beyond, you know, the alumni network. And obviously, you know, we've been impacted by everybody that's, you know, helped out, you know, that isn't, you know, formally part of the program, that's a friend of the program. But we can create more people with that same mindset, you know, through how we operate and carry ourselves, and sort of, you know, change a larger portion of society, you know, that way. So, you know, I hope that 25 years from now, you know, ideally something like this is needed. That's not happening in 25 years, right? But I would hope that, you know, we're able to make a dent and sort of, you know, chink away at sort of structural inequalities, and influence a broader and broader group of people, you know, through how we operate.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that Tamika and Matt said. Definitely wanting the organization to grow and continue to be healthy, because unfortunately there is still inequality and inequities in socioeconomic resources, and obviously tied to race. And there's so many talented Black students out there that could really, really benefit from everything that this program has to offer. But also I hope that we all, you know, us alumni, find a way to, you know, Mr. Mallory's not going to be the connective tissue forever. So we have to find a way to emulate everything that we've received from him and Vanessa, so that this the spirit of this organization remains the same.
I think that's right. If we can, you know, make sure that the organization has the financial stability, so that you know, that entry point, you know, as much as we're talking about the community, that money was very impactful and necessary for a lot of us. So we want to make sure that that's always sustainable. But then, just to synthesize what Tamika said, to also make sure that the real core of the program is around that community building. It's about, you know, it's about mentorship, it's about connection, you know, so that if we are not having to focus on, you know, fundraising and dollars and cents often, so that we can really focus on what is the best way to continue to like create that, create that community in ways that will be scalable, because as our numbers are going to grow and grow and grow. So how do we make sure that 25 years from now, we don't have a ton of people who, kind of came through for a little while, but then, kind of went off on their own. I think that, that there's probably some real work that we have to do to think about that as we grow.
Everything I would have said has already been said. So
Wonderful. So, Meredith, we've passed our hour.
We have
wonderful points. Really appreciate everyone.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. It's just, for people who don't have the whole history of the organization, it's really great to get the opportunity to go back to where it all started and see how the story started and how it's woven over the years. And thanks for all the work you guys do too, every day. It's really important. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you all. Good to see you.
Great to see everybody. Y'all take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.